The year was 2347. Humanity had done something amazing. They had left Earth and built homes among the stars. 12 worlds now had human cities on them. Millions of people lived on planets far from the world where humans were born. Ships flew between these worlds every day. Factories built new vessels. Scientists made new discoveries. Humanity was growing, spreading, and learning. But they were not alone. The galaxy was full of life. Thousands of species had reached the stars before humans. These species had formed a group called the Galactic Concord. The Concord was old. It had existed for 3,000 years. 47 different alien races belonged to it. They controlled most of the galaxy. They had millions of ships. They had weapons humans could barely understand. And they had rules. New species had two choices when they met the Concord. They could join and accept a low position. They would pay tribute. They would follow orders. In return, the Concord would protect them. Or they could refuse. No species had ever refused and survived. Admiral Catherine Cole stood on the bridge of the Starship Defiance. She was 52 years old. Her hair was gray. Her eyes were sharp. She had been born in a small town in Nebraska, on Earth. Her father had been a farmer. Her mother had been a teacher. Catherine had joined the military at 18. She had worked hard. She had fought hard. Now she commanded humanity's greatest warship. The message from the Concord had arrived 1 hour ago. Catherine had read it 3 times. Now she stood still, thinking about what it meant. "Admiral," said her communications officer, a young man named Peter Grant. "The Concord ambassador is waiting for our response." Catherine nodded slowly. She looked at the main screen. It showed the face of High Speaker Valorix. He was a Venari, a member of the oldest and most powerful race in the Concord. The Venari were tall, nearly 8 feet. They had hard shells covering their bodies like armor. Their eyes were black and cold. They had conquered hundreds of worlds. They had never lost a war. Valorix looked at Catherine with what might have been amusement. To him, humans were children, new, weak, unimportant. "Human Admiral," Valorix said. His voice was deep and rough. "You have received our terms. Your species will join the Concord as a client race. You will pay annual tribute. You will provide soldiers for Concord wars. You will accept our guidance in all matters of expansion. In exchange, you will receive our protection. This is generous. This is fair. Accept now." Catherine felt her crew watching her. She felt the weight of 8 billion people on Earth. She felt the weight of the 80 million people on the colony worlds. All of them depended on what she said next. She took a breath and spoke clearly. "High Speaker Valorix, on behalf of the United Earth Government, I must decline your offer. Earth and her colonies will remain independent. We will not pay tribute. We will not give you our soldiers. We will not accept subordinate status. We are a free people. We will remain free." Valorix's black eyes narrowed. "You decline? You understand what this means?" "I understand perfectly," Catherine said. "And I want to be clear about something. Any attempt to force submission on humanity will be met with resistance. Not protests. Not negotiations. Resistance. We will fight. We will fight with everything we have. We will fight until we win or until we are all dead. There is no middle ground. This is not a threat. This is a promise." For a moment, Valorix was silent. Then he made a sound that might have been laughter. "Humans are amusing," he said. "You have 12 worlds. We have thousands. You have 50 warships. We have millions. You have existed as a spacefaring species for 200 years. We have existed for 10,000. Your threats are meaningless. Your promises are empty. When you realize your mistake, you will kneel. Every species kneels eventually. Catherine did not blink. We are not every species. The transmission ended. The screen went dark. On the bridge of the Defiance, no one spoke for a long moment. Peter Grant broke the silence. "Admiral, do you think they will attack?" Catherine turned to face her crew. These were good people. Brave people. They had families back home. They had dreams and hopes. And now they might have to die for their species. "Yes," she said honestly. "They will attack. The Concord does not accept defiance. They cannot let a young species like us refuse their demands. If they do, other species might get ideas. Other species might start to resist. So they will come for us. They will try to make an example of humanity. Can we win?" Another officer asked. Her name was Linda Torres. She was young, only 25, but she was smart and capable. Catherine thought about the question carefully. "I do not know, but I know this. Humans have faced extinction before. Ice ages, plagues, wars, natural disasters. Every time, people said we would not survive. Every time, we proved them wrong. We are still here. We are still fighting. That is what humans do. We survive." She walked to the center of the bridge. "Send a message to Earth. Tell President Harris that the Concord has rejected our independence. Tell him to activate all defense protocols. Tell him to prepare for war." On Earth, President Samuel Harris received the message in his office. He was 60 years old. His hair was white. His face was lined with years of worry and work. He had been a Marine when he was young. He had fought in the colony wars. He had lost his brother in those wars. He understood sacrifice. The United Earth Council gathered within the hour. 20 men and women sat around a long table. Some were afraid. Some were angry. Some wanted to surrender before any blood was spilled. "We should reconsider," said Councilman David Park. He was pale and nervous. "The Concord has millions of ships. We cannot win a direct war. Perhaps if we negotiate, if we accept some of their terms, we can maintain some independence." "Some independence is no independence," said Councilwoman Rebecca Shaw. She was an older woman with steel in her voice. "They want tribute. They want our soldiers. They want control. What would be left of us?" The debate went back and forth. Samuel listened to all of them. He heard the fear. He heard the doubt. He understood it. The Concord was vast and powerful. Humanity was small and new. By any reasonable measure, they could not win. But Samuel had learned something in his years of fighting. Sometimes reasonable measures did not matter. Sometimes what mattered was will, determination, the refusal to give up, even when everything said you should. He stood up. The room went silent. "We told the Concord what would happen if they came for us," Samuel said. His voice was calm but firm. "We told them we would fight. Now we prepare to show them that we meant every word. I am authorizing the full activation of military production. Every shipyard will work triple shifts. Every scientist will focus on defense. Every citizen who can fight will be trained to fight." He looked around the room at each face. "We may lose. That is possible. But we will not surrender. We will not kneel. And if they want to break humanity, they will pay a price so high that they will remember us for 1,000 years. That is what we will give them. That is what humans do." Deep beneath the surface of Titan, one of Saturn's moons, there was a secret facility. Only a handful of people knew it existed. Inside, scientists worked on something called the Prometheus Protocol. It was a weapon. A terrible weapon. a weapon that could change the course of any war. Dr. Patricia Webb led the project. She was 45 years old. She had grown up in Chicago. She had wanted to be an astronaut when she was a girl. Instead, she became a physicist. Now she was building something that could destroy stars. She did not sleep well anymore. The weight of what she was creating kept her awake at night. But she understood why it was necessary. Sometimes, to survive, you had to be willing to become something terrifying. How soon? Her assistant Christopher Lane asked. He was young and still believed the universe was basically good. 6 months, Patricia said quietly. Maybe less if we push hard. Do you think we will need it? Patricia looked at the plans on her screen. She thought about the Concorde. She thought about their millions of ships. She thought about what they would do to Earth if they won. I hope not, she said. But if we do need it, we will have it. That is all that matters. Across human space, the message spread. War was coming. The Concorde was coming. And humanity was not going to surrender. They were going to fight. They were going to resist. And they were going to show the universe that when humans made a promise, they kept it. The universe thought humans were bluffing. They were about to learn how wrong they were. 6 months passed after humanity refused the Concorde's demands. 6 months of building. 6 months of training. 6 months of waiting. Then the waiting ended. The Concorde chose their target carefully. New Haven was humanity's largest colony world. 80 million people lived there. It had green forests and blue oceans and cities that stretched toward the sky. Families had built homes there. Children went to school there. It was a world full of life, and hope. The Concorde wanted to crush that hope. Warlord Kesrix led the attack fleet. He was a Venery, like High Speaker Valorix. But Kesrix was younger and more hungry for glory. He had 300 warships under his command. Each ship was massive, built for destruction. Each ship carried weapons that could burn cities to ash. Kesrix believed the battle would be over in hours. He believed the humans would see his fleet and surrender immediately. He was wrong, Commander. Daniel Hayes watched the enemy fleet arrive on his tactical display. He stood on the bridge of the human warship Relentless. He was 40 years old. He had a calm face and quiet eyes. He came from a small town in Oregon where he had grown up fishing with his father. He did not look like a warrior, but looks could be deceiving. Daniel had 22 ships, 22 against 300. The math was terrible. Any reasonable person would have retreated. Any reasonable person would have called for help and waited. Daniel was not going to retreat. Sir, said his second-in-command, Lieutenant Maria Santos. She was a young woman from Texas with dark hair and sharp instincts. They are opening a communication channel. Put it on screen, Daniel said. Warlord Kesrix appeared before them. His shell gleamed under the lights of his bridge. His black eyes looked down at Daniel with contempt. Human Commander, Kesrix said. I am Warlord Kesrix of the Venery. I command this fleet. You are outmatched. You are outnumbered. Surrender now, and I will allow your people to live as servants of the Concorde. Resist, and I will burn your world until nothing remains but ash and memory. Daniel listened to every word. Then he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. Warlord Kesrix, Daniel said slowly. You brought 300 ships to take our world. You should have brought more. He cut the communication. Kesrix stared at the empty screen in confusion. No species had ever spoken to a Venery warlord that way. No species had ever shown such disrespect in the face of certain defeat. They are insane, Kesrix muttered. All ships advance. Destroy their fleet. Then burn their world. The Battle of New Haven began. Daniel had spent the past 6 months preparing for this moment. He knew he could not win in a straight fight. 300 against 22 was impossible odds. So he had decided not to fight a straight fight. "Launch the first wave," he ordered. From the asteroid belt near New Haven, thousands of rocks began to move. Human engineers had attached small engines to them. Now those engines fired, sending the asteroids flying toward the Concorde fleet. Keswick saw them coming. "Asteroids? They are throwing rocks at us? Destroy them." His ships opened fire. Lasers cut through space. Missiles exploded. Hundreds of asteroids were destroyed. But there were thousands. And they moved fast. And behind them, hiding in their shadows, were human drones. The drones were small and cheap. Each one carried a single explosive charge. They were not meant to survive. They were meant to get close to enemy ships and detonate. The first Dennery cruiser exploded when 6 drones hit its engine section at the same time. The second cruiser died moments later. Then a third. Then a fourth. Keswick watched his tactical display turn red with damage reports. What is happening? These are primitive weapons. How are they so effective? The answer was simple. The Concorde had never faced an enemy like humanity. They had never faced an enemy willing to use everything as a weapon. Rocks, drones, their own damaged ships. Anything that could hurt the enemy became a tool of war. Daniel pushed his fleet forward into the chaos. His ships were smaller than the Concorde vessels. They were faster. They could turn and dodge where the big Dennery ships moved slowly. "Target their command ships," Daniel ordered. "Take out their leaders first." Human missiles flew across the battlefield. They were guided by the smartest computers humanity could build. They dodged enemy fire. They found weak points in enemy armor. They hit exactly where they would do the most damage. 3 Dennery command ships died in the first hour. Their crews never even saw what killed them, but the Concorde was not helpless. They had numbers. They had power. They started to adapt. "Concentrate fire on the human ships," Keswick commanded. "Ignore everything else. Kill them all." The Relentless shook as enemy fire struck its shields. Daniel grabbed his command chair to stay standing. "Shields at 60%, Maria reported. Her voice was tight but controlled. "Keep moving," Daniel said. "We stop, we die." The battle continued for hours. Ships burned and died on both sides. Human crews fought with skill and courage. They used every trick they had learned. They used tactics the Concorde had never seen. And then Daniel gave an order that changed everything. "Launch the Cascade torpedoes." These were new weapons. Secret weapons. Dr. Patricia Webb and her team had designed them. They did something terrible. When they hit an enemy ship's reactor, they created a chain reaction. The reactor exploded with 10 times normal force. And that explosion could damage nearby ships. And those damaged ships became easier to kill. And when they died, their explosions could damage more ships. The first Cascade torpedo hit a Denari battleship in the center of their formation. The ship exploded in a ball of blue fire. That explosion cracked the hull of 2 nearby cruisers. Human missiles found those cracks and burrowed inside. Both cruisers detonated. Their explosions damaged 3 more ships. In 30 seconds, 6 Concorde vessels were destroyed or disabled. In 1 minute, the number was 12. In 5 minutes, the center of Keswick's formation was a graveyard of burning metal. Keswick stared at the destruction with something he had never felt before. Fear. "How is this possible?" he whispered. "We are the Dennery. We do not lose. We cannot lose." But they were losing. After 4 hours of fighting, Keswick had lost over 50 ships. Then 70. Then 100. Daniel Hayes kept pushing. His own fleet was bleeding. He had lost 3 ships. Then 5. Then 7. But he would not stop. He could not stop. 80 million people on New Haven were counting on him. "Sir," Maria said. Her voice was heavy. "The Relentless has taken critical damage. Shields are gone. Hull breaches on decks 3 through 7. We cannot continue fighting." Daniel looked at his ship's status. She was right. The Relentless was dying. But Kesrix's flagship was right there, only a few thousand kilometers away. One good hit could end the battle. One good hit could kill the enemy leader. He made his decision. "All hands, abandon ship," Daniel announced. His voice was calm and steady. "Get to the escape pods." "That is an order." "Maria, you are in command of the fleet now. Finish this fight." Maria understood what he was planning. "Sir, no. There has to be another way." "There is not," Daniel said simply. "Go. Win. That is all that matters." The crew evacuated. Within minutes, Daniel was alone on the bridge of his dying ship. He took the controls and aimed the Relentless at Kesrix's flagship. The Venery warlord saw him coming. "What is he doing?" "He's flying directly at us." "Is he surrendering?" "No, warlord," an officer said with horror in his voice. "He is attacking. It means to ram us." Kesrix tried to evade. His ship was too big, too slow. The Relentless, burning and broken, slammed into the flagship's midsection at full speed. The explosion lit up the sky. Above New Haven, people on the surface looked up and saw a new star born and die in seconds. They did not know what had happened, but they felt hope. Daniel Hayes survived. The impact threw him clear before the final explosion. His escape pod tumbled through space, battered and barely functional. Rescue ships found him 3 hours later. Kesrix did not survive. His body was never recovered. When the Venery saw their warlord's flagship explode, something broke inside them. They had never lost a commander in battle. They had never been hurt this badly by an inferior enemy. "All ships retreat," the surviving senior commander ordered. "Fall back to Concord space." The remaining Concord vessels fled. They had come with 300 ships. They left with less than 200. Behind them, they left over 100 wrecks floating dead in space. On New Haven's surface, people watched the enemy fleet disappear into the darkness between stars. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then, slowly cheering began. It spread from city to city, from continent to continent. They had survived. They had won. Maria Santos stood on the bridge of her new command ship. She was covered in sweat and dirt. She had not slept in over 20 hours. But she was alive. Her people were alive. New Haven was safe. She recorded a message to Earth. "This is Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos. I am assuming command of Defense Forces at New Haven. Commander Hayes is injured but alive. The enemy has retreated. We lost 8 ships and many brave people. But we held. New Haven holds." She paused, thinking about what to say next. "They will come back. They will come back with more ships, more weapons, more anger. We need reinforcements. We need supplies. We need to be ready. Because this is not the end. This is just the beginning." On Earth, President Samuel Harris listened to her message. He felt pride for what humanity. The news from New Haven spread across Concord space like fire. Within days, every species in the galaxy knew what had happened. A young race called humanity had defeated a Venery war fleet. They had killed warlord Kesrix. They had held their world against impossible odds. Some species were shocked. Some were curious. Some were secretly pleased to see the Venery humiliated. But everyone agreed on one thing. The Concord would not let this stand. They could not let this stand. If one small species could defy them and win, Others might try the same thing. The whole system of Concord control might fall apart. High Speaker. Valaric stood before the Concord Assembly on the homeworld of the Venery. The assembly was a vast chamber filled with representatives from all 47 member species. Valaric looked at them with cold black eyes. He had been humiliated. His species had been humiliated. Someone would pay for that. The humans have shown themselves to be more dangerous than we expected, Valaric admitted. His voice echoed through the chamber. They have strange weapons, strange tactics. They fight without honor or fear. Warlord Kesrix underestimated them. That mistake cost him his life and cost us over 100 ships. Murmurs spread through the assembly. 100 ships lost to a species that barely had 50 vessels total. It seemed impossible. But this changes nothing, Valaric continued. His voice grew stronger. They won one battle against a small fleet led by a commander who made errors. That will not happen again. I propose that we assemble the Grand Armada, 5,000 warships from 20 species, the largest military force in the history of the Concord. We will go to their homeworld. We will crush them so completely that their children's children will remember the price of defiance. The assembly voted. The result was unanimous. The Grand Armada would be built. Humanity would be destroyed not far away. In the Sol system, humanity was not waiting quietly. President Samuel Harris had ordered every possible preparation. Shipyards worked 20 hours a day. New vessels launched every week. Scientists developed new weapons. Soldiers trained without rest. Admiral Catherine Cole coordinated everything. She had been given total authority over military matters. She used that authority well. Defensive stations were built throughout the solar system. Weapons were hidden on moons and asteroids. Mines were placed in the darkness between planets. Earth itself became a fortress, but Catherine knew it would not be enough. Numbers mattered in war. Humanity had built 300 warships. That was a miracle of production. But the Concord was assembling 5,000. Even with tricks and traps and new weapons, those odds were nearly impossible. She visited the secret facility on Titan. Dr. Patricia Webb met her at the entrance. "How's the project going?" Catherine asked. Patricia led her through long hallways filled with equipment and busy scientists. "We are ahead of schedule. The device will be ready in 2 months. Maybe less. Will it work?" Patricia stopped walking. She turned to face the Admiral with tired eyes. "Yes, it will work. When we activate it near a star, it will create a reaction that will cause the star to collapse. Everything within the system will be destroyed. Planets, moons, ships, everything." Catherine felt cold hearing those words. "A weapon that kills stars. A weapon that kills everything," Patricia corrected. "I hate it. I hate that I built it. But if the Concord breaks through our defenses and threatens Earth, we need options. We need something that will make them afraid. Something that will make them think twice about pushing us to extinction. Do they know about it? No. No one outside this facility and a handful of people in government know. If the Concord learned about this weapon, they would attack immediately with everything they have. They would never give us time to use it." Catherine nodded. "Keep it secret. Keep it ready. I pray we never need it." She left Titan feeling heavy inside. This was what war did. It forced good people to build terrible things. It forced them to prepare for horrors they never wanted to commit. Meanwhile, Commander Daniel Hayes was recovering from his injuries. The crash of the Relentless had broken 6 of his ribs and cracked his skull. The doctor said he was lucky to be alive. Daniel did not feel lucky. He felt angry that he was lying in a hospital bed while others prepared for the coming battle. Maria Santos visited him every day. She had been promoted to captain after the Battle of New Haven. She commanded a new ship now, the Valor. She was proud but also scared. The next battle would be much worse. "How are you feeling?" she asked, sitting beside his bed. "Like I was hit by a spaceship," Daniel said. His voice was rough, but he managed a small smile. "Because I was. The doctors say you will be able to return to duty in 3 weeks. Not fast enough. The Grand Armada is coming. I should be out there training our people, teaching them what we learned." Maria put her hand on his arm. "You already taught them. New Haven proved that your tactics work. Every ship in the fleet is studying what we did. Every captain is practicing your methods. You gave us a chance, Daniel. Now let yourself heal so you can give us more." Daniel looked at the ceiling. He thought about Kesrix's flagship exploding. He thought about his crew escaping in pods. He thought about the 80 million people on New Haven who were alive because he had made a choice. "I will be ready," he said quietly. "When they come, I will be ready." Across human space, ordinary people prepared in their own ways. On Earth, families built shelters beneath their homes. Schools taught children evacuation procedures. Factories switched from making consumer goods to making weapons and ship parts. Everyone understood what was coming. Everyone was afraid. But fear did not stop them. An old woman named Dorothy Mills lived in a small town in Kansas. She was 78 years old. Her husband had died 10 years ago. Her children lived on colony worlds. She could not fight. She could not build ships. But she could do something. Every day, she went to the local community center and helped cook meals for factory workers who were too busy to go home. She packed boxes of supplies for soldiers. She wrote letters to people at the front lines, telling them that they were not forgotten. "Why do you do this?" A young worker asked her one day. "You are old. You could rest." Dorothy smiled at him. "My grandmother told me stories about old wars on Earth. World War II, Vietnam, the colony wars. In every war, ordinary people did small things that added up to big things. I cannot fly a ship, but I can make sure the people who do fly ships know that we believe in them. That matters. That matters more than you know." This spirit spread everywhere. Humans had always been strongest when they worked together. Now they worked together like never before. Rich and poor, young and old, people from every nation on Earth and every colony in space. They all understood that they were fighting for survival. The months passed quickly. The Grand Armada gathered in Concord space. 5,000 ships from 20 different species. It was the largest fleet ever assembled. Valorix commanded it personally from his flagship, the Dominance. He would not trust this mission to anyone else. He would not allow another failure. "Today we depart," Valorix announced to his fleet. "Today we go to end the human threat forever. They think they are strong because they won one battle. They do not understand what true strength means. We have conquered 1,000 species. We have ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. These humans are nothing but insects, and we will crush them like insects." The Grand Armada jumped into faster-than-light travel. Destination: the Sol System. Destination: Earth. On Earth, sensors detected the incoming fleet. Catherine Cole received the report on the command station Citadel, hanging in orbit between Earth and Mars. 5,000 ships, her tactical officer said. His voice shook slightly. "They will arrive in 6 hours." Catherine stood straight. She had known this moment was coming. She had prepared for it. But knowing and facing were different things. She opened the channel to all human forces. "This is Admiral Cole. The enemy is coming. 5,000 ships against our 300. They think those numbers mean they will win. They think we will break when we see their strength. They are wrong." She paused, thinking about all the people counting on her words. We have something they do not have. We have a home worth dying for. We have families and children and a future worth protecting. Every ship in our fleet. Every station in our system. Every weapon we have built. All of it is for them. All of it is for the people we love. Her voice grew stronger. The Concord has ruled the galaxy through fear. They break species by making them believe resistance is impossible. Today we show them that resistance is not impossible. Today we show them what happens when you threaten human survival. Win or lose, they will never forget this day. They will never forget us. She ended the transmission. Around her, the bridge crew worked with focused determination. No one panicked. No one fled. They had jobs to do. Catherine looked at the tactical display showing the approaching armada. So many ships. So much firepower. By every reasonable measure, humanity should lose. But Catherine had stopped believing in reasonable measures a long time ago. All stations report ready, she ordered. Activate the Icarus network. Power up all defense systems. Today we fight for everything we are. Today we show them that humans do not bluff. The stage was set. The greatest battle in human history was about to begin. The Grand Armada dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Sol system. 5,000 ships filled the space like a swarm of angry stars. Valorix stood on the bridge of the Dominance, looking at the tactical display showing human positions. "They are waiting for us," his tactical officer reported. 300 warships. Multiple orbital stations. Numerous smaller contacts throughout the system. Valorix felt satisfaction. 300 against 5,000. This would not be a battle. This would be an execution. "Begin the advance," he ordered. "Crush everything in our path. Leave nothing alive." The Armada moved forward. Massive ships pushed through the darkness toward the small blue world called Earth. They expected easy victory. They expected humans to scatter and flee. They expected terror. Instead, they found the Icarus network. The first wave of Concord ships entered the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Hidden weapons platforms activated. Energy beams lanced out from rocks that had seemed dead and empty. Missiles launched from stations buried beneath the surfaces of small moons. Mines drifted out of darkness and attached to enemy hulls. 20 Concord ships died in the first 30 seconds. 50 more were damaged. The neat formation of the Armada broke apart as captains tried to avoid the invisible dangers. "What is this?" Valorix demanded. "Where are these weapons coming from?" "Everywhere, High Speaker," an officer answered with fear in his voice. "They have turned the entire asteroid belt into a weapon." Valorix snarled. "Push through. We have 5,000 ships. They cannot have enough weapons to stop all of us." He was right. The Icarus network was deadly, but it had limits. The Armada pushed forward, taking losses but advancing. For every ship the hidden weapons destroyed, 10 more took its place. Admiral Catherine Cole watched the enemy approach on her display. The first phase had gone well. The Concord had lost nearly 200 ships to the outer defenses. But they were still coming. They were still too many. "Begin Phase 2, she ordered. "Launch all fighter wings. Activate the autonomous drone swarms." Thousands of small craft poured out of hidden hangars scattered throughout the system. Human fighters piloted by brave men and women. Drones controlled by sophisticated computers. They swarmed toward the enemy fleet like angry hornets. The Concord had never faced this kind of warfare. Their doctrine was built on big ship battles. Their weapons were designed to destroy large targets. The small, fast human craft slipped through their defenses. Captain Maria Santos led a strike group toward a cluster of Concord supply ships. The Valor flew at her formation center, surrounded by fighters and drones. "Target the fuel transports," she ordered. Without fuel, their fleet dies. Her group dove into the enemy formation. Lasers flashed. Missiles streaked. A Concorde transport exploded in a ball of orange fire. Then another. Then 3 more. "We got them," her weapons officer shouted. 5 transports destroyed. "There are more. Keep moving. Do not stop." All across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human forces struck fast and vanished. They avoided the big enemy warships. They targeted weak points. They fought like predators hunting much larger prey. Commander Daniel Hayes had returned to duty 3 days before the battle. His ribs still ached. His head still throbbed. But he refused to stay behind. He commanded a squadron of 12 ships near Jupiter, using the giant planet's gravity to slingshot attacks against enemy flanks. "Fire torpedoes," he ordered. "Then dive into Jupiter's atmosphere. They cannot follow us there." His ships launched a wave of Cascade torpedoes and a formation of Concorde cruisers. The weapons hit their targets. Chain reactions began. Blue fire spread from ship to ship. 15 kills confirmed, his sensor officer reported. "Good. Circle around." We hit them again in 20 minutes. The battle raged for hours. The Concorde kept losing ships, but they kept advancing. Their numbers were simply too great. For every ship humans destroyed, 5 more pushed forward. The defensive network was being overwhelmed. On the Citadel, Catherine received damage reports from across the solar system. Human losses were mounting. Brave crews were dying. The outer defenses were nearly exhausted. "Admiral," her communications officer said, "High Speaker Velorix is requesting to speak with you." "Put him through." Velorix appeared on the screen. His black eyes burned with anger. "Human Admiral, you have fought well. Better than I expected. You have cost me ships and soldiers. But you must see that victory is impossible. My fleet is still 3,000 strong. Your defenses are failing. Your fleet is dying. Surrender now, and I will spare Earth. I will take your people as servants, but they will live. Continue to resist, and I will burn your world to ash. This is my only offer." Catherine looked at the face of her enemy. She saw arrogance there. She saw cruelty. But she also saw something else. She saw uncertainty. She saw doubt. Velorix had expected an easy victory. Instead, he had gotten the hardest fight of his life. "High Speaker," Catherine said calmly, "I appreciate your offer, but I must decline. We are not finished yet." "Not finished? You have lost half your fleet. Your defenses are broken. What else can you possibly do?" Catherine smiled. It was a cold smile. A dangerous smile. "Let me show you." She cut the communication. Then she turned to her tactical officer. "Transmit the coordinates." "Which coordinates, Admiral?" "All of them. Every Concorde homeworld. Every major colony. Every important installation. Send them to every ship in their fleet. Let them see that we know where they live." The transmission went out. On thousands of Concorde ships, screens lit up with maps showing their home systems, their planets, their families, their vulnerable worlds. Catherine opened a new channel, broadcasting to the entire enemy fleet. "Attention, Concorde forces. You know what you are looking at. Those are your homes. We know where they are. We know their defenses. And we have weapons you cannot imagine." She paused, letting the words sink in. "You have not yet seen what happens when humanity attacks. You have only seen us defend. Push us further, and we will carry this war to your doorsteps. We will not just fight you here. We will fight you everywhere. Every world you care about will burn. Every ship you send home will find nothing but ashes." On the Dominance, Velorix stared at the coordinates of his own homeworld displayed on his screen. He felt something cold in his chest. His planet. His family. His children. "She is bluffing," he said. But his voice lacked conviction. Admiral Threx, an old warrior who had joined the command staff, shook his head. "High Speaker, look at what they have done to us. Look at the weapons they have used. They turned asteroids into missiles. They built bombs that collapse reactor cores. They have turned their entire star system into a death trap. Does this seem like a species that bluffs?" Valorix did not answer. He watched the tactical display showing his fleet's losses. Over 2,000 ships gone. 2,000 ships destroyed by a species with only 300. The math was wrong. It should have been impossible, but here they were, bleeding, dying, and the humans were still fighting. Catherine continued her broadcast. "Withdraw now. Agree to peace. Recognize human independence. And this ends. We do not want to destroy your worlds. We do not want this war. But if you force us to choose between our survival and your destruction, we will choose our survival. Every time." Without hesitation, the fleet waited. The battle paused. Thousands of ships hung in space, their weapons ready but silent. On the Citadel, Catherine stood perfectly still. She had played her best card. She had shown strength she was not entirely sure humanity possessed. The Prometheus weapon was real, but using it would make humans into monsters. She did not want to become a monster. She wanted to survive as something worth surviving as, but the enemy did not need to know her doubts. They only needed to believe that humans meant every word. Valorix called his senior commanders together. The debate was short but intense. "We can still win," one commander argued. "We have 3,000 ships left. We can reach Earth. We can destroy them. At what cost?" Threx replied, "We have lost 2,000 ships already. How many more will we lose breaking through? And even if we destroy Earth, what then? They have shown us they know our homeworlds. They have weapons we do not understand. Can we protect every Concord world from human revenge? We cannot retreat. The Assembly will never accept it. Our honor demands victory. Honor is meaningless if our people are dead," Threx said quietly. "I have fought many wars. I know when an enemy is broken. These humans are not broken. They will fight until nothing is left. Is that really what we want? A war of extinction against a species that refuses to die?" Valorix listened to all of it. He thought about the proud history of the Venery. He thought about 3,000 years of Concord dominance. He thought about his family on a world whose coordinates now displayed on human targeting screens. He made his decision. Open a channel to the human admiral. Catherine received the transmission. Her heart was pounding, but her face showed nothing. "Admiral Cole," Valorix said slowly. Each word seemed to cost him something. "The Concord Assembly proposes a cessation of hostilities. We would discuss terms." Catherine felt relief flood through her, but she kept her voice steady. "We accept. Our terms are simple. Human space remains human. No tribute. No subordination. Full recognition as an independent power. In exchange, we offer peace, trade, and eventually, perhaps, friendship." The silence after battle was strange. For 3 days, thousands of ships had fired weapons at each other. Explosions had lit up the darkness between planets. Now nothing moved except the slow drift of wreckage through empty space. Admiral Catherine Cole did not sleep for 48 hours after the fighting stopped. There was too much to do. Wounded crews needed rescue. Damaged ships needed repair. And somewhere in the void, a Concord fleet of 3,000 vessels waited while diplomats decided the future. The negotiations took place on a neutral station, built quickly between the two fleets. Human representatives met Concord ambassadors in a cold metal room with no windows. The talks were tense. Both sides had lost too much to trust each other easily. President Samuel Harris led the human delegation. He was tired. He had aged 10 years in the past week. But his voice was steady and his mind was clear. "We want 3 things," Samuel said. First, full recognition of human sovereignty. Our worlds are ours. Our people are free. Second, no demands for tribute or military service. We will not pay you. We will not fight your wars. Third, the right to expand into unclaimed space without Concord interference. High Speaker Veloric sat across the table. His black eyes revealed nothing. The battle had humiliated him. The Venery had never retreated before. They had never admitted that a younger species could stand against them. Every word of this negotiation was painful. "And what do we receive?" Veloric asked. "Peace," Samuel replied simply. "You will not need to spend more ships trying to conquer us. You will not need to defend your worlds against human attacks. The war ends. Both our peoples can focus on building instead of destroying. That is not much. It is everything. How many ships did you lose in this battle? 2,000? More? How many would you lose taking Earth? How many would you lose if we carried the fight to your space?" Samuel leaned forward. "We do not want war with the Concord. We never wanted this war. But we will fight it if we must. We will fight it until one side is completely destroyed. Is that what you want?" Veloric was silent for a long moment. He thought about the wreckage floating outside. He thought about the reports from his surviving commanders. He thought about the weapons humans had used. The asteroids turned into missiles. The torpedoes that created chain reactions. The small ships that struck like insects and vanished before they could be killed. He thought about the coordinates displayed on his tactical screen. His home world. His family. "No," Veloric finally said. "That is not what I want." The negotiations continued for 3 weeks. There were arguments. There were threats. There were moments when both sides nearly walked away. But slowly, carefully, they built an agreement. The Treaty of Seoul was signed on the anniversary of the battle's end. Both sides gathered for a ceremony on the Citadel station. Catherine Cole stood in her dress uniform, watching as Samuel Harris and Veloric placed their marks on a document. It was not a perfect treaty. It left many questions unanswered. It did not make the Concord like humans or make humans trust the Concord. But it was a beginning, a foundation, something to build on. After the signing, Catherine found herself standing at a window, looking out at the stars. So many of those stars had planets. So many of those planets had people living on them. Aliens who had watched this war with fear or hope or simple curiosity. What did they think of humanity now? "Quite a view," a voice said behind her. She turned to find Admiral Threx, the old Morvani warrior who had argued for peace in the Concord Command. He moved slowly, his age showing in every step, but his eyes were sharp. "Admiral Threx," Catherine said. "I did not expect to see you at the ceremony." "I wanted to meet you," Threx replied. "I wanted to meet the human who stopped the Grand Armada. I did not stop it alone. Many people fought. Many people died. Yes, but you led them. You made the decisions. You convinced Veloric to pause when he wanted to push forward." Threx moved to stand beside her at the window. "I have fought many wars, Admiral Cole. I have seen many species try to resist the Concord. All of them failed. All of them submitted or died. Until you. We were not special. We were just not willing to give up." Threx made a sound that might have been a laugh. "That is what makes you special. The Concord conquers through fear. We make species believe that resistance is impossible. When they believe it, they stop fighting. You never believed it. Even when our fleet filled your sky. Even when all logic said you should surrender. You kept fighting. He turned to face her directly. That terrifies the Concord leadership. They understand military power. They understand technology. They do not understand people who refuse to break. They do not know how to deal with species who would rather die than kneel. Catherine considered his words. Are you saying we should be worried? That the Concord might try again? No. I'm saying you have changed things. Word is spreading across the galaxy. Other species are hearing about what you did. They are seeing that the Concord can be stopped. That courage can beat numbers. That determination matters more than ships. Threx's voice grew soft. You may have started something much larger than a war, Admiral. You may have started a revolution. The years passed. The Treaty of Soul held. Slowly, carefully, humans and the Concord began to build real relations. Trade ships replaced warships. Diplomats replaced soldiers. Fear gave way to cautious respect. Captain Maria Santos was chosen as humanity's first ambassador to the Concord Assembly. She found the role strange at first. She had been trained for battle, not politics. But she learned. She adapted. She sat in the great assembly chamber as a representative of a species that had earned its place. When young diplomats asked her about the war, she told them the truth. We were scared. All of us. We knew we might die. We knew our whole species might be destroyed. But we also knew that some things are worth dying for. Freedom, dignity, the right to choose our own future. The Concord wanted to take those things from us. We said no. Commander Daniel Hayes recovered fully from his injuries. He spent the rest of his career training new officers, teaching them the tactics that had saved New Haven and Earth. He became a legend. Though he never felt comfortable with the title. I just did what needed to be done, he would say when people praised him. Any human would have done the same. Dr. Patricia Webb returned to her research after the war. She spent 2 years dismantling the Prometheus weapon, piece by piece. When the last component was destroyed, she sat alone in her laboratory and cried. She cried for relief. She cried for grief. She cried for a future that would never need such terrible things. We made it, she whispered to herself. We survived without becoming monsters. The old woman Dorothy Mills lived long enough to see the peace treaty signed. She died peacefully in her home in Kansas, surrounded by letters from soldiers she had never met but had comforted during the darkest days. At her funeral, a Marine captain read words she had written in her journal. Hope is stronger than fear. Love is stronger than hate. And ordinary people doing small things can change the universe. President Samuel Harris served 2 more terms before retiring. In his final speech, he talked about what the war had taught him. We learned that we are stronger than we knew. We learned that we can face anything if we face it together. We learned that the universe is vast and dangerous and beautiful, and that we have earned our place in it. Not through conquest, not through fear, but through courage, through determination, through the simple, stubborn refusal to give up. Admiral Catherine Cole eventually retired to a small house on New Haven. She chose that world deliberately. It was where humanity had first proved itself, where Daniel Hayes had rammed his ship into an enemy flagship, where 80 million people had watched the sky and prayed for salvation. She spent her final years gardening, growing flowers, watching ships pass overhead on their way to distant stars. Sometimes young people came to visit her. They wanted to hear about the war. They wanted to understand how humanity had survived. Catherine would sit with them on her porch, looking up at the endless sky, and tell them the truth. They thought we were bluffing, she would say. The Concord looked at our small fleet and our few worlds, and they saw weakness. They did not understand what humans are. They did not understand that we have faced extinction before. Ice ages, plagues, wars. Every time someone said we were finished. Every time we proved them wrong. She would smile then, an old woman's smile full of memory and pride. When we said we would fight, we meant it. When we said we would never surrender, we meant it. When we said we would make them pay for every inch of space they took from us, we meant it. That is what being human is. We do not bluff. We do not make threats we cannot keep. We do not promise what we will not do. She would look at the young faces watching her, full of hope and curiosity about a future she would never see. Remember that. Whatever challenges you face, whatever enemies you meet, whatever impossible odds you confront, remember what we showed them in this war. Humans do not give up. Humans do not surrender. Humans fight for what they love until there is nothing left to fight with. Her eyes would return to the stars. Endless stars. Billions of worlds. A universe that had thought humanity was nothing special. They know that now. The whole universe knows. And they will never, ever forget. The story spread across the galaxy. It was told on 1,000 worlds in a hunt.